Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eberron Chapter 2, Episode 4, I think? It's Episode 4? I don't know. Check Twitch. It should say the correct thing in there, I think. What's up, everybody? I'm not asking you how your week is doing. I figured I learned my lesson last week. So I'm not going to ask you. It's always awkward responses. Instead, we're going to talk about what happened last week, which was everything went to shit, but then Kieran saved the day. So...
That's exactly what happened.
That's pretty much the easiest way we can sum it up is everything went to shit and Kieran saved the day, which is a little frightening to say considering that, Kieran is a scary person. All right. So, my birthday is in 2 hours and 21 minutes, so that's pretty exciting. I get to stream on my birthday to start. I start my birthday playing Dungeons & Dragons with my family and that weird British guy. So, who doesn't know how to Dungeon Master to save his life. All right, British, everybody, right? Let's get into the game. Like, we left off with some pretty intense stuff.
No, I think we were in a forest.
Whoa, Ollie, your face is different. I'm just looking at you. Okay, no. Yeah. Oh my, you look different.
Looks beautiful.
I'm sorry. I'm throwing off everything you're viewing because I have to. Wow, Ollie, I'm just seeing your face. Wow. Okay. Sorry, that threw off your view for a second, but oh man.
I saw your face and wow.
Can I nibble on your chin? All right, so let's go. Let's get started. Guys, when you last left off, literally the last thing that happened when you guys were there last time is you were having a conversation with, what's his name? With Winston. And Winston is currently the commander, the one that's in charge of this keep. And he's just kind of like, what's up, guys? Yeah, I'm not in the authority to punish you, so I'm going to pass the word up to those that are supposed to, that do have the authority to punish you, and see what they do. In the meanwhile, thanks for the information. Have yourself a great day. So, what do you guys do?
We're leaving.
You're leaving, but I imagine as you're leaving and hopping on your horses and doing all that wonderful stuff, you have conversations with one another, making your way down the mountainside. I also imagine you'd very quickly see the area where splattered blood was and a couple of dead wargs were.
Ooh. Flavorful. No, I'd be very quiet. I'd probably be at the back of the party.
Gahal, don't look.
Eric, roll me a nature check, please.
You got it. Bam. Alright. Not gonna roll at that advantage. So I'm learning.
Ooh. Don't Eric it.
Well, nothing, no information for you. So, you guys are making your way down the mountainside. Remember, it's a long walk off of your steeds just to get down the actual path. You guys aren't vulnerable, so you don't have to worry about wargs attacking you or anything like that. What do you guys do?
So Luca would probably be with the group, but the second that he sees any space between Stalbor and the rest of the group, he would probably try to slow down a little bit to be at pace with Stalbor to see if there's some spacing between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Even if it's only 45 feet or so, not big spacing, just a decent amount of spacing.
You guys are easily able to make that happen. Not immediately, but it's one of those things where you travel at different paces all the time, so it happens.
Right. So once that happens, I'm just kind of I'm gonna keep looking over at him and then looking away. I obviously want to say something, but I haven't said it yet to see if he reads into that or if he doesn't respond at all.
Stalbor definitely notices but doesn't say anything. He's kind of just sort of looking ahead more or less. Oh, do I not get to decide if I notice?
Well, usually I would just allow the PC to narrate something as simple as this. However, you have an insight disadvantage for all humans.
Yeah.
So the DC is low, and so most people just automatically get it, but you have to roll with disadvantage.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point.
You could just think the human is being weird.
Yeah.
Human is being weird.
I mean,
ooh,
one of those rolls is amazing, but it doesn't
got
count. Alright, well, I'd recognize it, but I wouldn't be talking. I'd be, off in my own head, more or less, or at least making it look like I'm off in my own head. So in reality, big chest wounds.
Yeah,
Right
after trying to like cohere some type of conversation out of Stalbor with him starting it, we'd probably say, I don't know, 10 minutes go by before I'm finally just like, I say it quietly enough where probably the front two people couldn't hear, but not like completely discreet.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just probably address Stalbor, and I'd probably just say, I think we need to have a conversation.
About what, Luca?
It was pretty clear to me that back there, you didn't actually think that was a changeling.
Why would you think that? Was our goal in this keep not to find a changeling? Isn't that why we were there?
It
why
was.
Is it surprising that we found one?
It was, and when we did our series of fake testing, no one seemed nervous enough to.
That's because it was a
distinguish-
fake test, Luca.
I agree. However, the way you spoke about it, the way you had determined that this was indeed likely a changeling, seemed off-putting.
Well, it would be off-putting. We've been spending months traveling the world, following the words of a dead man that make very little sense. And in all honesty, the more and more I look at these words, the more and more I find myself questioning why we are following them. What is the goal? We slayed a changeling because they are inherently evil beings linked to some grand conspiracy? I find that very hard to believe. It's very easy to be racist and assume that this race, just because they can hide and change their face, are monsters. But I find that very hard to believe.
And I'll say now trust me, when it comes to giving a race the benefit of the doubt, I agree completely. We shouldn't just assume. And that's being said with the assumption that my brother has been killed and taken over by changelings. I will still give a changeling the benefit of the doubt. I'm not Kieran. However, you seem to have deferred from the question when I said you seem to not believe yourself that it was a changeling. You're telling me that it was?
Stavel's quiet for a little bit. I'm telling you that I think we are following a path that is inherently flawed. No matter what we did in Grey Wall, we are following the words of a man who, in all honesty, I am beginning to believe was suffering from delusions. I know firsthand of illnesses that affect the mind more than the body. I know what can ail people, and he was clearly suffering when we met him. This paranoia, maybe he was a spy, although I find that hard to believe. And maybe there is slight slivers of silver knowledge in the words that he hid, but it could just be the ramblings of a man starting to suffer from madness. And I do not make light of that, but I do find it incredibly troubling that we are continuing to waste precious time to explore, to slay in the name of a man. And he would actually be getting louder and louder, like, okay, maybe before Kieran couldn't hear, but this is getting louder and louder, of a man who clearly was losing his mind.
So,
I see.
Right there, Luca would interrupt, right in the middle of your sentence, equally as loud. He would say, "Trust me, I agree that these might be false pretenses for what we're doing. I agree that this might be the rambling, spy words in the knots, whatever it may be. But again, you're not answering my question. Do you believe that was a changeling?"
Does it matter?
To me, yes.
He looked at Kieran. It was a changeling. He wanted us gone, or better yet, dead. It was a changeling. Now, it's just we stop talking of changelings and decide what we do next.
Luca would nod to that. He'd kind of put a puzzling face on, as he does.
I don't want an insight check because of whether or not he lied to you. What I want is an insight check because of the fact that he looked to Kieran almost like he was trying to keep it quiet at the moment. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
That's what I want from you right now.
Yeah.
Okay? Looks like you did not pick that up. You actually genuinely believe what it was that he just showed you.
Right. So I'll like I said, I'll nod, kind of put a puzzling look on my face because I swear that I understood a truth that maybe you weren't willing to say. So it's kind of like that puzzling look of I have to trust him, but I should I trust myself type of look. And I nod and I say, well then, I guess Kieran acted appropriately for once.
Poor Kieran. Right.
What
Oh, I think
is
you're
in the-
muted, Aaron.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Apologies.
It's alright.
What is in the past is in the past. What matters now is our future. I don't want to travel the world following half poetry.
I agree, but our past defines who we are in the moment.
Ugh. Like actually, like
Ugh.
disgust.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's yeah. Luca picks
Your
up on it.
brother.
Yeah,
That would be what I would focus on.
that's what I want to focus on. That's why I was curious if this was a changeling or not. If this was indeed a changeling, like you say it is, then we should assume that they've infiltrated my whole family. Almost no one in my family would be trustworthy to me at this point, and everyone could be someone else.
Well, you know, family is more than. That is what I would recommend we go towards. Finding the man who stole your brother's face. And if there is some great conspiracy in the poetry of Dane de Leander, then that will enlighten it. we hope.
Now, I agree, Stalbor. The man who stole my brother's face couldn't have done so for the goodness of his heart. He must have something in the works, or they must have something in the works, whoever he's working for. However, Kieran seems to be Kieran, stubborn. She seems to not want to look into this further because she's already looking into it. She seems to think that will ruin her plans, to ruin her finding Nico and saving him for whatever attachment she might have to him. I'm not sure, but
I would disregard any attachment you have to a dead man.
you see like whitewash over Luca's face. It's just kind of like no one has actually said he's dead yet, and this is like the first time that he's thought like, oh my god, someone thinks he's dead. So he just gets kind of pale, almost sickly looking, but he has the same demeanor to him. So you can tell he's trying to front.
Yeah.
But he's not doing well at it, and he kind of like takes like a deep, like a breath in and just goes. For all we know, he might still be alive. But
If I stole someone's face, I wouldn't want there to be the most obvious evidence.
Well,
he hesitates for a second.
At this, I'm gonna turn. Rex stops walking. He was very purposely just still walking, like
Yeah.
just keep going, just keep going. But
keep
that's it. He
swimming, just keep
just
just
swimming.
I roll my eyes and swear in Goblin, and I turn around and I say, "Is this really the appropriate time for this? We don't know anything. Speculating on whether or not his brother may or may not be dead is not only callous, but it's unnecessary.
But what better time than now? We have nothing planned. We have nowhere to go.
Then let's plan."
That's precisely what we are doing. Kieran,
So
I'll say loudly.
You guys have been yelling this whole time, so I imagine either I'm already in the conversation
It
or
would
I'm
be
far
like-
enough away not to
yeah.
hear you.
Well, no, I
there were
imagine you're
quiet
probably.
parts and then
if you wanna
yells,
wait
and
for
then
me to
quiet
catch
parts
up-
and yells.
So no, there's probably quiet parts and yells, and you're probably like I'd say probably you understand 40% of probably what's happening. So you
Probably
definitely know
don't
we,
fucking care.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is you probably don't care, and you've probably been ignoring us to the point where you're probably like
Yep.
borderline boiling over, like shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
And then you hear me yell out, Kieran.
So, are we talking now?
We've been
Are
talking.
we? Oh, you've been talking. We
Yes,
haven't been
Stalbor and I, and then Reich. You seem to have disconnected from the party.
Which honestly is...
You walked ahead of me!
I was trying to have a conversation with Stalbor that was originally private, however, has escalated to involve
Why
the
would we
local.
need privacy among friends?
I mean, ask Kieran that question.
I'm sorry, are we friends?
So, the most important thing is where we travel to next.
Agreed. Stalbor seems to be in the right mind of... Nico could be missing, and you've been looking into that, Kieran, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Well, perhaps instead of solving my family's issues here, or dilly-dallying with this there, or trying to look for him discreetly here without Luca knowing, let's look for him.
That sounds great. I would like to remind you that you left. Like, I stayed in Sharn. You were gone. Alright?
Because I didn't know that my brother was...
Yeah, that's
being-
great. You said you were going to stay and help me with this. You didn't. You fucking left. That's not my
Because I
problem.
couldn't. Nico told me that I couldn't, that
Yeah.
it was him and you who were going to go through these articles of clothing. He told me that there was no way I could help you, and that was me trusting Nico, who
That
you
was
later
true.
turned out to find out wasn't Nico.
Yeah, well,
So don't accuse me of things. I'm not
Listen.
accusing you any longer. But don't
okay,
accuse me of
sure.
anything.
Alright. Well.
Now
Are
you
done?
say you have my brother's best interest at heart. You say you want to find him. You say that this imposter might lead us to him in a way.
No, I'm thinking this imposter might warn me if you get replaced.
I'm not gonna get
I
replaced.
think we'd
How did you
notice
fucking know
if
that? You
dear
can't
Luca got
promise that.
replaced.
Really, he didn't fucking know his own twin brother was a changeling. And you're saying we can recognize him?
To be fair, I've put myself far away from my brother for multiple years.
Mm.
I've always tried to look the other way. And then the one time I needed help, he helped me. And in turn, was an imposter changeling in which I wasn't sure. There might have been some off-putting characteristics. However, I was very gullible and I looked past it. You're right. It was a time of weakness for me. However, I think Stalbor, who I've been with for the past year, essentially, would know if it wasn't me.
Yeah. Well, while you and Stalbor were off, I was looking into this. Do you want to know what I think?
Yes, I would love to hear what you think.
Okay. Well, I think we have two options at this point. We know Nico got replaced during the investigation with Dask, so we can investigate that further. We also know that there was a connection with the changelings aboard the Lyrandar vessel. We can investigate that. What would you like to do, Luca?
If both seem to bring us to the same conclusion of finding Nico, I'm not sure which. And I kind
Right.
of just look defeated.
Right, you are a man of strategy. I want to know your opinion. Far more than
He
these
said-
two.
He sits there and thinks for a couple, almost a couple of minutes, just sitting there, almost staring off into the to the distance, and then he says, "Well, I won't lie to you. I have a particular interest in taking care of Dask in all of its all places it hides. However, I am troubled by how blatant the attack on the ship was. Changelings would more hide in the dark, so whatever they were doing on that vessel was important enough to reveal themselves potentially. Do we have any? I look at Karen at this. Do you have any leads from that vessel?
No. If I had any leads on Dask, I would have pursued them before.
Indeed. So it seems.
As for looking into my own house, I have not.
Wasn't there a woman?
Lesria. She was mentioned in the notes. It's possible that she's involved in this. I don't know.
Well, given our limited information, it would seem prudent to follow up on that lead.
I find myself agreeing.
We also
Sadly,
have the advantage.
chasing shadows again.
Unfortunately,
have anything else to go on.
when we're dealing with someone who works from the shadows, chasing shadows is the best way to find them.
There can
Now
be
I-
fun in the shadows, Luca.
Now I know Reich. I kind of ignore what Stalbor says, and I say,
No.
Now I know Reich. You're trying to eliminate Dask and all it stands for, and if Dask has been the one to take over my brother and possibly, and he gets silent for like a solid 5 seconds and goes, murder him, then maybe I am also with you in arms.
Well, I'll be entirely blunt with you, Luca. If Dask is any part of this, I imagine they are nothing more than pawns, probably being swayed by their own leadership being replaced.
And then I'll kind of interrupt you, like as you say, like replaced. I get kind of loud and boisterous, and I say, then not only will the pawns die for what they've done, but so will the higher ups.
Kieran will smile at
Justice.
that.
Justice needs to be served.
Doesn't sound like justice.
I know. I nod at that. I nod to his assertion, and I say, "Well, if it is Dask we seek, then I know where we can start looking for them."
If it's Dusk you want to go after, that's great. If we do eventually want to follow with Lesria, that has the benefit of being in Stormreach, which is where we can get more poison.
More
The
poison.
ingredients
or
are
not,
native to Zendrick.
more poison or not, we need to travel appropriately. We need to decide what is the best route to go to do both of these tasks. That will lead us to what's better to do first.
And I hate to be realistic about this. We lack coin to travel expeditiously across the world, and every week we spend in travel not solving anything. It's more weeks that our enemies have to plan, more weeks that our enemies have to scheme and to enact what they're doing.
Agreed. Now,
I mean, I can get us past to Zendrick, that's fine. That's not a
Zendrick?
concern. Stormreach. As for getting us to Sharn, we're gonna have to take the horses back from there. I assume that's where we're gonna go, right?
well, if you can get us passage to there, and then we can go to Sharn afterward, I assume it would save us some time.
Well, we're gonna. Okay, so Sharn is a coastal city. It would be easiest to get from Stormreach from Sharn.
Right. Get to Stormreach from Sharn, or get to Sharn from Stormreach?
Get to Stormreach from Sharn. We're currently at in Drum, so we have to
Yeah,
travel downwards and south on land.
Right.
It's going to be a bit of a journey.
It will be, and it's one I'm willing to take. We need to stay on top of things. However, we can't afford to travel the way we did to get here and solve nothing.
I agree. Which is why before we leave, I think that we should think of exactly what we plan on doing when we get there. We can't just barge into Stormreach and demand an audience with whomever this person is and hope that they'll give us the information that they are.
Well, then may I suggest that you and I use the knowledge of Kieran to come up with this plan?
I think Kieran will have to be the one coming up with the plan.
Kieran
As
has to come up with a
Well,
plan
we're-
that doesn't
we're
involve
fucked.
barging in.
We're fucked
As
then. What to tell you?
When Karen says that, I actually laugh out loud.
Yeah, I think we need to use the knowledge that she may provide to come up with a better plan.
Well,
I've
Okay.
worked with people like Kieran before. You just need to unleash them at the correct time.
I agree, but unleashing her, having her, I say unleashing her, and then realizing that that's probably a terrible way of talking about a person. I say
Yeah, Kieran's sitting there, arms folded, what the fuck is this,
having
guys?
having her
Rude.
unleash true potential while in the middle of her own house's territory on a member of her house would probably prove an issue, both for her standing in her own house and for us in general.
I don't see why you still care so much about the houses.
I
I mean, I don't really care that much. Let's be
They
real.
are pieces to a puzzle that I will never see the picture of.
I agree.
The picture was once bright to me, however, it's becoming duller and duller with each day that passes.
That's politics.
I think our plan should be devised not just yet, but during our travel in the direction we need to go.
Well, the sooner the better, because if we walk into there without a plan, then it's going to become, with lack of a better term, I say in Goblin, a shit show.
I'll nod to that.
All right, where are we going then, team?
Well,
All right,
we're-
so I think we're going.
So,
Luke, okay. never
Sean,
mind.
right?
you guys, I believe, are heading to Sharn, which is a...
I'm looking at the map. It's not that
Yeah.
far away.
Yeah, it's so far away.
Luca.
Hey, does anyone
I
want
will
to
say,
link
by
the
the
map
way,
to the
never
viewers?
mind.
Yeah, I can do that. At least the
Wait,
one I'm
Luke,
looking at.
You want to say what?
No, it's fine.
You just said, Luke. I do want to say.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to chime in. I will say, I am sorry for how this has turned out. I made a difficult call in a tough situation where you weren't here, and I didn't know if you had been replaced. I didn't know where you were. You ran off to Reckonmark with your house, who, as far as I know, is completely infiltrated. I am sorry. I had hoped to find better news.
You see a deep breath of just almost relief, where it's like half of the world was on my shoulders, and now it's like less. It's obviously still wearing on me, but Luca acknowledges it, and he doesn't say anything yet, but you see he definitely acknowledges it. He's very, you could tell like by his facial, he's very thankful of the apology, and he nods slightly, but he doesn't speak yet. He just kind of keeps going.
Okay. You guys are traveling along.
On the road
obviously.
again.
On the road
On the
again.
road.
It's not a short...
On the road for real this time.
It's not a short travel back to Sharn. But
Relatively.
what
compared to
it's
the
not a
last
short
one.
travel back to Sharn. So first thing you have to do is get down the mountain, which I already described to you beforehand was what, like 3D travel? 2D travel. And then you have to make your way around the mountain, and the easiest and safest way to do that is around the northern bends, not the southern bend, and head back out of Droam, which is again just a dangerous place. So why don't we worry about the time that you're in Droam before we worry about the time that you're outside of it, right? While you guys are traveling along down that mountainside, it's perfectly safe. You guys have your conversations. I imagine not necessarily that entire thing happened all in one sitting. I imagine a little bit with Stallborn walking happened early on, and then maybe there's a break for a few hours. You guys stopped for food. Then there was like a little bit that took place between Luca and Kieran. Then perhaps even silence for an entire like day and a half as you guys are traveling, and then it kind of like boils up and it gets to the angry points, and then kind of things go from there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, like you guys are so close in proximity to one another. You guys are literally always around each other. So it's one of those things where like you don't always talk because you're always there. You just need space. But whatever. However it plays out, you guys are making your travel around the northern bend of the Grey Wall Mountains, heading your way back to Breland itself, and then finally south to Sharn. You don't intend to pour tons of finances into traveling there, on foot or on train or anything like that. As you guys are traveling, making your way along, could you do me a favor really quickly? Actually, I don't need you to do me a favor. I just need to pull my head from my bone.